Hello, everyone. Welcome to Success Studio Live. My name is Tara LaFon Gooch. I am the host. I am also the CEO of Best Branding Solutions. And at Best Branding, what we do is work with purpose-driven leaders, subject matter experts, and visionaries to develop and amplify their brands so that they can become world-class leaders. That's what it's all about. But it starts with personal branding, and who better to have on my show to talk about the topic of personal branding than an absolute subject matter expert himself, Sudhar, my friend, who is the CEO and founder of The Social Company. Welcome. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Tara. Thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. And before we get started, I just wanted to let everybody know who's watching. Put in the chat, guys, where are you watching from? If you're inside the United States, what state? If you're outside the United States, what country are you in? What platform are you watching from as well? Because this is going on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all sorts of places. So let us know in the comments. And then as we're talking about the subject of personal branding, if you have a specific question for myself or my guest, let us know how we can help you in your journey. But speaking of journeys, how did you get started in this journey? Because you haven't been on LinkedIn for a long time. We were kind of talking about that off air, Sudhar. So how did you go from this journey into entrepreneurship and starting your personal branding business?
Right. So I started as a digital marketing expert. We were a digital marketing agency before this. I
Mhm.
started in 2012. So it's been over 10 years since I've been in the digital space. So during COVID-19, we didn't do well. We went from 22 clients to 6 clients in a span of 2 months. So we
Wow.
had to pivot somewhere. One thing that agencies don't do well is promote themselves. We promote every other business, but we don't do it for ourselves.
Mhm.
And for most agencies, the only source of leads is word of mouth. And we were at the same point too, and we didn't want to be there for a very long time, but unfortunately, we were there. And I wanted to change that, and I started adding value in terms of digital marketing on LinkedIn. I started creating content on LinkedIn on April 1st of 2021. So it's been
Wow.
over, just over 2 years now. So, and things worked out in my favor. I crossed 10,000 followers in less than 6 months, and leads start flowing in. And that's exactly why I started my journey on LinkedIn. And we were happy. But then it struck me digital marketing was not the problem I was supposed to solve, because there were a lot of people who were solving the same problem. And I wanted to get into personal branding because I had solved the problem for myself.
Oh, that's
People
interesting.
Yeah, because I strongly believe that if people have to buy from you, you have to be a product of your own product.
Mm.
So
Yes.
yeah, I had proof of concept. I was
Yeah.
already doing well on LinkedIn, and I started pitching it as a service to our clients, and things started working out. And currently, we are working with over 100 founders on establishing their personal brand and their authority on LinkedIn.
Wow, that's amazing. So you went through this journey, and sometimes we fail because it's not right for us, right? I think so many people, especially company founders, we something doesn't work, it fails. Maybe it's an idea or concept, and we may give up one business altogether and go back into the corporate world or go back into something that we're familiar with. But other times it's because we didn't find a real, true higher purpose or calling, and we didn't listen to our own best advice, right?
So true.
That's, yeah, so true. So, how did you go from not having a personal brand? Because I feel like this is where a lot of people are right now, Sudhar. A lot of people are struggling with this concept of personal branding. Do they need one? Why them? What's so special about them? How can they develop a personal brand? So, how did you in your journey go from not having a personal brand to a widely known and respected one?
Perfect. That's one amazing question. I strongly believe that personal branding starts with personal growth.
Mm.
So you become a master at what you do
Yeah.
and start speaking about what you already mastered on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to build a respectable and an impactful personal brand. So it's about establishing your authority. I have zero intention in becoming a celebrity because most people confuse becoming a celebrity with becoming an authority. So it's about becoming an authority. Personal branding is about establishing, your authority in your industry. It's as simple as that. If you are already good at what you do, becoming a personal brand is not going to be it's not going to be a difficult thing at all.
Exactly.
Because people
Exactly.
love people who add value.
Yep. So
So
these are people that are already well known in their niche, well known in their industry. They're subject matter experts, right? They're authorities on whatever topic or subject that they're involved in. And what personal branding does for that type of person is amplify them and create more opportunities and really carve out a name for themselves, don't you think?
totally, totally. That is exactly why we have to establish our authority. And to establish an authority, you should already have an authority on your subject. So
Yep. I love that. So you primarily work with CEOs, company founders, as do I, and you help establish their personal brands. So a lot of people wonder, what even does this word mean, right? So before we get into a lot of the nitty gritty basics of personal branding, what does it mean? Why is it important?
right. First of all, why not? Why not let ourselves be the front runner in our industry? If you know a lot of things about what you're doing, I think you should lead the industry.
Hmm.
So it's as simple as that. But no, in today's world, people believe more in people than they believe in companies.
Yeah.
So and that is the reason why most entrepreneurs who we know of, even big time entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, like Jeff Bezos, they put their name out, their face out, because they know that people believe in them more than they believe in their companies.
Yep.
So it's important that we put our face out so that people have something to believe in
I
or
love
someone
it.
to believe in. So
Someone to believe in. That's right. Maybe there's something that's relatable to you that by you not sharing that aspect of yourself with the world or with a greater audience, that you're not allowing other people to know you exist, so they can't be inspired from your actions. They can't be inspired by your journey. But if we share our personal brands with a wide audience, what it does is it helps inspire so many people. Part of that's through thought leadership, don't you think?
yeah, actually, I see it the other way. Of
Hmm.
course, if you are good at what you do, it's important that we put it out there, and that's thought leadership. It's so simple. But I
Hmm.
see it the other way. If you have a good product or a good service, if you are not talking about it, your audience might be buying a bad product or a bad service, which is a
Yeah,
sin. Which is a sin because you didn't talk about it, and it's your sin.
that is so key, and that is something that I want to stick on that point for just a moment, because that is an absolute principle of sales that I live by. When we're selling something, it is simply guiding and directing that person who you have empathy for, who you want to see succeed, to the best possible business decision for themselves so that they can go into that next level of success. You're right, to your point. If we're not promoting ourselves and if we're the best suited person to help them,
Yes,
it is a little bit of a sin, isn't it?
exactly. It's a huge sin, by the way, because you are being a reason for someone to buy a bad product or a
Mm,
bad service. So if you're really confident about you and that you offer a good service, it's your moral responsibility to put yourself out there.
I like that. It's our responsibility. And it's also our responsibility, if we are that subject matter expert, if we are a leader, if we are a visionary, to create content. But I don't see a lot of people on LinkedIn create a lot of content. And you know what? I think the statistic is less than 1% of users globally actually create content on a consistent level. If what you're saying is true, it's a sin if we're not doing that as well, don't you think?
Exactly. That's exactly what I meant.
Yep. Wow. So it's about staying top of mind awareness with our target audience so that when people are ready to make that purchasing, that buying decision, that they go to the best suited person for that product or service. But they, something you said a little bit ago was that people don't buy from companies. They don't buy from faceless organizations, do they? They buy from other people.
Exactly.
What does that mean? Can you talk about that for a second?
Right. If given a choice between marketing the difficult way and marketing the easy way, I would choose the easy way. And in 2023, the easiest way to promote a product or service is to put someone from the company in front of a camera. So that's the easiest way to do it. So give someone the spotlight, and who is the better person to tell the company story than the founder or the CEO themselves?
That's right.
So it's bit better if you run a company, if you're a CEO or a founder, it's important that you put yourself out there so that your company gains credibility.
Yep. And so that they see that human story behind,
Exactly.
right?
They get someone to relate with. Usually companies, high rises and big time structures and systems don't relate with people. People relate with people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we will have to, it's our responsibility for our company to relate with people, right? So naturally we have to put ourselves out there. That's the easiest way to do it.
Absolutely. And, another benefit for personal branding, it's not just about sales. This is about impact,
Exactly.
right? This is about instituting change. This is about creating connection with other people. But an interesting thing, as a founder, as a CEO, when you develop a personal brand, and you know this, what other interesting things start to happen? Well, because people buy from people, good top talent starts to be attracted to want to work with your company.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. So not only do you start to attract top clients, but you start to attract top talent, business partners, and even investors and partners.
Very true. Very true. No, I think personal branding on LinkedIn solves three major problems.
Hmm.
The first problem is finding investors.
Mm.
People who want to invest in companies are on LinkedIn.
Yep.
People who are looking for investors are also on LinkedIn. Personal branding just allows that marriage happen. So that's the first one. And the second one is sales. Obviously, 70% of global B2B sales happen on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is the best platform for B2B sales, and it makes it even better when you have a very good personal brand. And the third problem is hiring problem. Like all of us know, hiring good tech talent is becoming very difficult these days. And with a very good personal brand, it's better. If you have a very good personal brand, people want to work with you.
Yeah.
So it's always better if they come to us rather than we going to them, because they get inspired, they come to you, and those who come to you stick with you for a very long time.
That's right. They
And retaining
believe your
employees,
story.
very true.
Yeah. But it's more than, personal branding is more than just sharing pictures of ourselves online, right? It's
Right.
I think again there's so many people that have heard this term for a long time, but it's misplaced and they don't quite understand where it fits in.
Right.
So, just to clarify, personal branding is more than just sharing our pictures on LinkedIn, our dog pictures, our family pictures. Those are all great,
Yes.
but it's way more than that. It also involves us sharing a deeper meaning, sharing our story, again, thought leadership. Let's talk about the story aspect of that, because you mentioned companies, and when companies share their story, share their mission, their values, their purpose with their audiences, it allows others to connect with that company in a deeper way.
Yes.
the same thing goes with the company founders and executives who do the same. So, how can you share your story in an effective way that helps build your personal brand, Cedar?
Right. That's one amazing question. When it comes to LinkedIn, people don't follow you; they follow your work.
Yeah.
So talk about your work. Talk about everything you've done, everything you've learned. No, because everything that you've done is going to add value to someone else who's looking to do the same thing. So start talking about your work. And the second kind of content is that's the first kind of content that I would stick to. Talk about the work we do,
Mm.
because people are more interested in your work on LinkedIn. And the second kind of content is generic positive content, because we all have a positive side to our lives. While other social media is filled with negativity, LinkedIn is not so. LinkedIn is filled with positivity.
Hmm.
So when you are a positive person, when you are someone who reads, when you are someone who networks, abundantly, when you are someone who likes working with people, it's important that you talk about your positive side of the story, so that because people gravitate towards positive people, period.
Yeah.
So, and the third kind of content is content based on your value systems. This is where, believe me, this is where sales happen. People don't buy from you because you offer a specific service or a product, because there are a zillion others who do the same thing.
Yep.
People buy from you when they feel that they resonate with your value systems. So talk about your personal values, business values, family values, things that you deeply believe in, your company culture, the kind of employees you work with, the kind of clients you work with, kind of mentorships you've received, mentorships you've offered. Let's talk about all these things where people get to relate with you on a deeper level. And deeper the connection they build with you, the longer they follow you.
Absolutely. And I love how you brought up values because that is one of my favorite topics. Feel free, put them in your profile, guys. Your values, what are they? I have values listed in my headline. In my headline, it says I work with purpose driven leaders, subject matter experts. I want to work with people that are filled with purpose. I put it right in my headline. The goal with personal branding is not to attract any and all attention. It's to attract aligned, right attention that honestly you want. You don't want everybody's attention. You want the right people's attention. So, by putting your core values, things that you believe, your mission, your vision, sharing ideas, again, this thought leadership, these values, putting them in your profile, using them and incorporating them as a part of your content strategy is an excellent way to generate that right attention. Don't you think, Sudar?
So true, so true. Because marketing itself is a targeted activity. It's not a random activity.
Yeah.
And personal branding is a part of marketing that you do. So it's going to be very specific. Talk only to your target audience. That's how I built my brand. Every single time I write something on LinkedIn, I make sure I step on my clientele's shoes or my target audience shoes to see if that content would make sense to me.
Mm,
Only if it makes sense to me, it would make sense to my target audience. So it's important that you keep in mind your target audience and speak directly to them.
absolutely. So I think a lot of people get that wrong, don't you think? A lot of people that I see on LinkedIn use the platform as only listing their accomplishments and things that they've done. And we need to do that because we need to put ourselves as a subject matter expert and authority, but it's not about being boastful or grandiose with our accomplishments. If it doesn't speak to the target audience, who's it really talking to, right?
Yep.
So, how do we go about doing such a thing? How do we get to where our content, our copywriting is talking to that target buyer? What do you have any good suggestions for that?
Yep. Uh, People follow you on LinkedIn for two reasons: you inspire them, or you educate them, or you do both.
Hmm.
Right? So when you talk about your accomplishments, people get inspired.
Hmm.
But if you only keep talking about your accomplishments, people get bored.
Yeah. That's right.
So establish your accomplishments, show it, and teach people how to do it.
Teach people how convey knowledge.
Exactly. No, you
Yes,
have to give them knowledge on how you got where you are.
exactly.
So if you can teach them how you got to where you are, they will also learn from you, and they see you as an inspiration and the living proof of where they want to get to, and they follow you on a regular basis for that.
Absolutely. And part of that is we hear this term all the time, adding value.
Yes.
But what does it really mean? Well, adding value means that we're conveying knowledge, that we're teaching people. There's a lot of people out there that are kind of afraid to do that. They think that if they add so much value and if they convey knowledge and they transfer knowledge and they continually teach, that eventually you know, that they think that everybody's going to steal their ideas and that they won't have anything left to share. Is I don't think that that's really accurate, but a lot of people feel that way. What do you think about that?
Uh, this is something very important to be addressed. The ones who give
Yeah.
always receive more knowledge.
Yes.
So once you once you decide that you're going to give, it's the same point you become a knowledgeable person. So you start giving out value, and then you figure out that you will never run out of value.
Yeah.
So givers gain. It's as simple as that. No, you cannot approach abundance. You cannot attract abundance from a scarcity mindset. You cannot look weak and no, and you cannot feel weak and look strong outside. That cannot happen. And no, I'm a strong believer in mindset. If you don't believe that you can be a brand, you will never be a brand.
Yeah.
So you should know that you have enough to give. So feel abundant inside, so that you start giving out a lot, and the ones who give out a lot receive a lot.
Absolutely. I think that is so key and so pivotal. Honestly, any success starts with mindset, right? But when I was going through my personal branding journey, that was something that I had to really learn was that mindset, that abundance mindset. It's really hard to develop a personal brand if you don't address the mindset first, because just like you said, the power of teaching and conveying knowledge is that we actually learn it twice,
Yep.
don't we? So
So
every time we teach someone else and add value to someone else, our skill set actually gets sharper, doesn't it?
so true. Every time you teach, you learn twice.
Yep. I love that. See, we're so aligned. I knew that we would have a good discussion today. That's awesome.
This
But
is
it's true. It's all about conveying your knowledge. And, your target audience is not going to be attracted to you. They're not going to want to do business with you if you're not teaching them, because, the example that I typically use when somebody asks me that question, how much knowledge do I share, right? I typically say, well, if I watch on YouTube, for example, somebody making a fine furnishing from a piece of wood that they've cut down, so they're a wood carver, that's what they do. No part of me watching that video is going to make me believe that I need to go and chop down a tree and make a table just like that person. No, I'm going to look at that video and say that person is an artisan craftsman, and they're very knowledgeable, and they're teaching me all of this wonderful information about wood carving or whatever. And it's not going to make me want to do it, but it's going to make me want to buy from it, because ultimately people are buying the passion,
yeah,
aren't they?
so true. And with the question that you asked, how much value to add so much value that people feel guilty that they're not paying you enough.
I love that.
That's how much you add.
So just never stop giving.
Never stop giving. Keep
Yep.
giving.
Keep giving. And it's all about teaching and conveying knowledge. And if you're a subject matter expert, the world needs to hear that, because there's a lot of noise out there. Don't you think? There's an abundance of knowledge. We can go out there, we can go on YouTube, we can go on all of these other platforms and learn something every day. Is it filtered? Probably not. Is it the best people for that should be? I don't know. But if you're a true subject matter expert and you're a purpose, driven existence, you belong on this stage that is the world, on social media, to share your voice and develop your personal brand. It's your duty, isn't it?
So true, so true. If you have so much knowledge, start giving it out there so people feel good when they see your face because you are a giver. And I know a friend. I know I have an example for this. I have a friend who was not much of an expert, but he wanted to give, and he started creating content. And in that process, he wanted to learn more in order to create content. And in the process of creating content, he actually became an expert
You
because he
see?
learned a lot. Yeah, because he learned a lot to give. To give. See, givers gain.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's
I'm
how
a
it
firm
happens.
believer in that. In order for you to receive, and part of that is, I'm a big believer in this. We get what we are. So if we're givers, we keep receiving.
Yes.
The universe is just a big mirror that reflects back on us who we are and what we are, right? So if we're givers, if we're constantly trying to help other people, if we're constantly trying to add value, then ultimately that's going to come back, and people are going to be attracted to that and want to work with somebody like that. Nobody wants to work with somebody that hoards information, that keeps it to themselves, that has that scarcity mindset, right?
So true. So true. I have an example to this. I have a way to put this forward. People who, when we start working with clients, most people ask, when do I start receiving leads? When do I get leads? When do people come to me? These questions are so common,
Yeah.
and I have an answer to this. You don't look at it from a receiving perspective, you look at it from a giving perspective, because every time you look at it from a receiving perspective, you're not attracting what you want, you're attracting the lack of what you want,
Yep.
because you see it from the lack, right? No,
Yep.
I don't have leads, I don't have business, I want business. So when you see it from the lack perspective, but every time you see it from a giving perspective, you see it from abundance perspective, because you have a lot to give. So you see it from an abundance perspective. And when you see only from the giving perspective, you naturally receive because you are already abundant.
Yep. When you give, you're in an abundant mindset. And
Exactly.
we had a question that I did want to address that I thought was a really good question. So, clients sometimes don't communicate, right? Sometimes it's hard to get people's attention on LinkedIn. But one of the best ways, going back to what we were just saying, the best way to get somebody's attention is by giving value to them first,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
How
Exactly.
can you add value? Think outside of the box. So I've done this before with people that are prospective clients of mine. I did it with a New York Times bestselling author. I couldn't get this person's attention. So what did I do? I knew they had a book coming out, and I messaged that person and said, "Is it okay if I promote your book on my page?"
Wow.
Well, what do you think they said?
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
They didn't respond before, but they responded to that one. Why? Because I added value to them first, and I showed them I wanted an actual relationship, not just a transaction. What do you think about that?
So true. So true. And like I said, if when you give, you see that's so natural. It flows. And wanting to add value should be your natural form, should be
Yep.
your default form.
Yep.
So you
Default.
wanted to add value, and you add value. This is something that I do not pitch clients on LinkedIn. I only communicate with my target audience on my feed. I never do it on the DMs.
Hmm.
Never. I've never cold emailed or cold messaged anyone for the past 2.5 years. I've been active on LinkedIn. 100% of my lead flow is inbound. You know why? Because I want to keep giving and not want. I don't want to ask anything from anyone. I'm not here to ask. I'm only here to give. So the more I give, more I receive, because I know the formula.
That's
So
amazing.
they come to you.
Wow. I think we all learned something today. Honestly, anybody's LinkedIn game can be improved upon, right? Anybody's personal branding game can be improved upon. It's an evolution, folks. That's another thing I wanted to stress today. There's not a week that goes by where I'm not updating something, whether it's my website, something for my personal brand, applying to places and putting my name out there and getting in front of people. It's a constant evolution of growth. That is the beautiful thing of it. So I encourage everybody who's watching today to develop their personal brands, because you have a powerful story that you need to share with the world. You are somebody's exact remedy and medicine for a problem that this world is facing or an individual is facing right now. And if you're not putting yourself out there, sharing your story, sharing what you believe in, telling people about your values and who you are as a person, as a human being, you're doing the world a disservice. And ultimately, it's a selfish act that we have to stop, because we need to put ourselves out there, right, Sudar?
Totally.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, my friend, for being
Thank
my
you so
guest
much for inviting me.
today. Yes, I will replay this because more people need to hear this message. This was very powerful and very good, and I do appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who tuned into my show today, Success Studio Live. I am airing once a week now, so if you're interested in coming in this show, I interview company founders and CEOs who are purpose driven and impact driven, who want to create change in this world. And I would love to have you on. Until next time, we will see you. Take care.